Our next guest is a comedian, actor, and author. You know him from his work on Saturday Night Live, Trainwreck, as well as his shows Unconstitutional and Red State, Blue State. His latest show, Colin Quinn, The Last Best Hope, opens at the Lucille Lortel Theater here in New York on November 2nd. Please welcome back to the show one of our favorites, Colin Quinn.
No water? What is it, COVID regulations?
Yeah, well, we have this one for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. I thought I scored an expose. Before you start, let's just say nobody likes that you haven't gained weight during COVID. It's rude to your guests, and I don't like it, and I'm going on record, but go on.
Well, you take COVID regulations very seriously. You are a man who caught COVID twice, and I'm glad to see you're doing well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Twice I had COVID and got the vaccine. And, that's how you know it's not as bad as the plague, because, you know, in the Middle Ages, nobody's like, hey, I got the plague twice. I got it again. Symptoms were mild. You know.
Nobody, when you got it, was it still coronavirus? Because I feel like we stopped using that term.
Yeah, nobody says coronavirus. It's only COVID now, because probably the lobbyists from Corona Beer were like, hey, what are you doing to us? And then they're like, okay, we'll call it Delta. And they're like, fine. And Delta's like, what? No. And then COVID's like just one angry Romanian guy's like, my family name. Like, I'm sorry, sir, but that's how that's a bit.
How do you feel like New York is handling it as often a spokesman for the finer points of the city?
Yes, thank you. I do consider myself a spokesman for the city. And I feel like I have to keep doing that when people forget that I'm the spokesman for the city. And New York is obviously finished. What happened was COVID, because when the subway flooded, we saw fresh water coming to the subway. It's not, urine, anything would be fine, but fresh water is unnatural. And I realized it's because when Bloomberg first started that no smoking law in 2003, that changed we have a very delicate ecosystem. And, no floods could get in before that, because this is a smoking section of the country.
Right.
People move here to smoke. And no floods, there was no COVID, there was no disease, no airborne illnesses, because they couldn't get through. Even the sun barely got through. And
so the smoke was providing sort of like a defense layer.
Yes.
Okay.
And Times Square was the rainforest, and it was like a combination of spit, a delicate balance between spit, body fluids, blood, and those bike lanes created like a wind tunnel that allowed all this stuff in. Those really were the downfall, as you've seen.
One thing that people have said, and I think everybody always has to preface it, like, COVID was terrible. Obviously, it was horrifying. One thing I like about it is outdoor dining in the city, and I hope it stays.
Oh, of course, because people sanitize. People go, your table's ready. It's that shed in the gutter. Or step right over there. Like the waiter is sanding down your table, and there's a Con Ed worker on a jackhammer 2 inches from your face. You're having an anniversary dinner. You're like, when we first met, he's like, lift your feet for a second. You're like, what the? Like, you're sparkling water or a fire hydrant, sir? What'll it be? Plus, nothing's better than when you try to get up for dinner, you forget the bike lane, and you almost get, taken out by a delivery guy. But you can't say anything, because delivery are heroes. Delivery, apparently, all right, folks, it's enough. We get it. We're all medical people in delivery. The rest of us are non-essential. That's a rude way of phrasing it. Can't they just say people that were important at this particular time? And it's delivery and people, either you go to medical school 3 years or you get an electric bike, you have equal status. I'm sure the medical people love that one, They're like, I studied oncology at Stanford. It's like, hold on, my pizza's here. Wait a second. Oh, first responder. Thank you for your service. But it's weird, because that's medical people and restaurant people are interchangeable now.
Yeah.
They've deputized. The only person that's taking my temperature the past year and a half is every hostess at a restaurant.
Yep.
Like the waitress is checking your vitals, and the busboy will be back with your blood work in a few minutes. That's why I found out I had COVID. I know you're going to think I'm making it up. I get the phone call. You have COVID. I go, who is this? Applebee's.
No.
I said, what should I do? They go, we don't discuss it over the phone. Come down. We'll talk about it over a bottomless margarita for $8.99. It sounds made up. Sounds like a bit.
Sounds like a bit. So, you know, some things are going back to normal, and yet within this pandemic, there have been some people who have sort of like gone to the heights and then all the way lower than they started. Governor Cuomo.
Oh, yeah. Ellen and Governor Cuomo have had a tough COVID.
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah. Because Cuomo, remember, everybody's like, oh, my God, where's he been all my life, this guy?
Yeah.
He should be president of the United States, the man who would be king. And now he's in a U-Haul on 17. Just going, that escalated quickly. He's driving in circles around Ulster, Dutchess County. I said Ulster, then I went with Dutchess. It's funnier. I don't know why. Last minute decision. But, yeah. But because he got, remember, he's yelling at us every day. He got cocky. He's like, hey, 6 feet distance. Don't touch anyone's face. All the stuff he couldn't do with his staff, ironically, right? But of course, we overcorrect everything. Now, what is it? Mario Cuomo Bridge, they want to rename Tappan Zee Mario Cuomo Bridge. They want to change it back because to punish Andrew Cuomo, take his father's bridge, which is uncalled for. And it's not going to change anything. He's still going to be Andrew Cuomo. Right. Doesn't even make sense. They should leave the name Mario Cuomo Bridge and make him change his name to, you know, Andrew Tappan Zee.
There you go.
You know.
And then Mario Cuomo doesn't get punished.
That's right.
Last Best Hope is the title of your show. Yes. You have not been, I think it's safe to say, you haven't been, you've been very clear-eyed about this country, but maybe not particularly optimistic. No. Why did you come up with the title Last Best Hope?
Well, because that's what Abraham Lincoln said right before the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And he said, we're the last best hope. I forget exactly how he phrased it, but which I should know since it's the title of the show. You know, but yeah, but I feel like, look, this country's, I think everyone's shocked that we're not in a civil war right now, never mind. And you know, a civil war is the worst kind of war to have because you have to see each other afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awkward. You're like, oh my God, is that Missouri? Didn't we bomb them? But yeah, I do feel like this I love this country, but I think we should sell. Yeah. Because you know, now's the time. Just HGTV is very popular. The Founding Fathers of Property Brothers, we knocked down the Rockies, open concept. You know how these shows go. Got the double sinks, the Atlantic and Pacific. Yeah, I went through the whole thing with the bit. And nice backsplash to Grand Canyon. You know, here's the thing about a bit. I finish them. They're not always hilarious, but I finish them.
You don't bail on it, you finish the bit.
I bail. Flip the Louisiana Purchase. And change our motto. America, love it or list it. Now it's done.
Perfect.
Now I'm done. Thank you, folks.
Colin Quinn, it is always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for making the time for us.
Thank you.
Colin Quinn, The Last Best Hope, opens at the Lucille Lortel Theater tomorrow. For more information, go to colinquinn.com.